Eventually, death comes knocking on each and every one of our doors. But in the interim, what can we do to plan for our end of care process? In today's show, I'll be sharing 5 very simple ideas that will help you put together your end of life strategy. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Bybreen Samuels, and you're here at the Smart Years, a place where baby boomers can reinvent, thrive, and live well into their third act of life. So here we are, we're living longer, and there's a growing trend in terms of people living alone. Here in the UK, research carried out by the Office for National Statistics, they produced a report called Families and Households, and they discovered that 7.4 million people, i.e., adults, live alone. That was a figure in 2013, and in 2023, 8.4 million adults live alone. And of that 8.4 million, 50% are over the age of 65. So this is what the statistics are saying here in the UK, but this is being replicated right around the world. Now, there's a whole host of reasons as to why people choose to live alone, maybe, or it's because we're living longer. We maybe have been in long-term relationships or marriages and our spouse has passed on. It could be divorce or getting married later on in life. But what happens to those of us in particular who are aging alone and living alone? How do we begin to plan for our end of life care? So there are a number of things that we can do, but here are 5 very simple ideas that you may start thinking about to help you put your plan together. So the first one really is around advanced care planning directives. Now, here, what you're considering is the medical care, the type of medical care that you could be interested in. So, for example, if you are facing a terminal illness, are you somebody that doesn't want to be having their life prolonged? Do you have a healthcare proxy? Meaning, is there somebody who can actually take care and advocate on your behalf if you are unable to do so? Now, this person will form part of your living will. And it's really important to try and have this type of person in place because what we're aiming to do is to avoid any misunderstandings regarding the kind of wishes that we would like to be carried out as we move closer towards the end. The second one really is around legal and financial preparation. Here, we're really looking at what documents do you have in place? Do you have a will? Do you have a trust? More importantly, do you have a power of attorney, somebody who can act on your behalf, carry out your affairs to the letter of what it is that you want? It's very important to consider all of this. And as I'm sharing all of this with you, it's something that I'm literally considering and putting into place myself. So we want to be aware of the legal documents that we need to start putting in place. A part of the legal documents, there's a financial aspect. So here, what you're thinking about are your insurance policies. Do you have life insurance? And if you do, is it time for you to review your life insurance? Does it have adequate cover? What type of cover does it have? So now is the time for you to be considering your life insurance. And if you don't have life insurance, what do you have in place to take care of your end of life plans? Are you somebody that already has some savings with regards to that? Have you been bequeathed some money so you don't need to think about that? But either way, what you're trying to do is to put into place all the different mechanisms that helps you think about in the event of you passing away or you becoming unable to advocate for yourself, that you know exactly what's going to happen. And the people in your life, they could be family members by blood or they could be family members by choice. Are they aware of what your plans are? The third one is really around medical care and the preferences that you want. So here there are 2 potential ones to think about. There's palliative care and hospice care. Now, when we're looking at palliative care, this is like a wraparound service that's provided to people who have a terminal illness. And really what you're considering here is the quality of life in terms of making your life comfortable as you're beginning to move towards the end of your life. So, for palliative care and for hospice care, who's going to actually pay for it? Do you have money covered within your insurance policy? Is there savings? Are there family contributions? Is it something that you could apply to your local government for? In here in the UK, we have local authorities, but wherever you are in the world, you will have maybe some type of government intervention. Here it's under the title of adult social care, and that's going through changes at the moment. So it's in consideration. What does palliative care look like to you, and who do you want involved in that? Now, some of the benefits of that is really around pain management, trying to make yourself feel as comfortable. So it's regarding the quality of life. Then there's emotional support. Now, this can be applied to yourself as you are acclimatizing to the stage of life that you're facing. But it could also be for members of your family or those who care for you. Then there's spiritual support, and this could be about the exploration of your values, your beliefs, and how you begin to navigate those feelings as you're moving closer to death. There may be somebody that you would like to bring on board to help facilitate this process. And this could be somebody who supports your family as well as your medical team. And this person is known as a death doula. So just imagine women who go through pregnancy and they have a pregnancy doula to birth your child into the world. Well, there's an equivalent as we're moving closer to the end of our life that we might engage somebody called a death doula, who could be the advocate in your world, whereby they are the person that you have assigned to speak on your behalf, to advocate, to liaise with your family, as well as, your medical provider. So that's somebody to pay attention to, somebody you may want to include within your team. Lastly, you might be looking at home modifications that need to take place. So if you are facing a disability, or just, there's progressive aging whereby your body is deteriorating and you are having palliative care at home. So are there any modifications that need to be made to your home? Are you liaising with occupational health? So do you have like handrails in your home? Or when it comes to wall sockets, instead of them being on the skirting board or near the skirting board, they might be moved further up on the wall. So therefore it becomes far more accessible for you. So these are some of the modifications that you may want to think about as you choose to remain at home instead of going into hospice care. Then fourthly, what you're looking at is the type of community support and social support that could act as a surround sound blanket to your life. And here, what you're really paying attention to is what type of local facilities and amenities are around you that can help facilitate your life. So you could be somebody who needs transport, or you have a need for Meals on Wheels or a social environment. And the best place to look for these types of activities and services is with regards to your local voluntary sector or your charity sector. Every borough here in the UK, and no doubt where you are in your local facility, there are charities that support and continue to bring so much added value to the lives of local residents. So there might be a community transport team in your area. Now, they may be funded by trust funds and being implemented by charities, or they could be associated with your local government. Same thing with Meals on Wheels. Now, here in the UK, it comes under adult social care, or if you're paying for it privately, then that's an arrangement that you need to have in place. Equally alongside this is, what's your social support like? If you're somebody who lives alone and you're aging and you're moving closer to death, or you might not be moving as close to death, but you could have retired and your world was tied up with the world of work and your connections and your social support. And as you're moving through your retirement years, you may feel isolated and alone. So what type of facilities are around you, this is when you can start researching in your local area to find out the types of organizations that could support you. There's also respite care. Now, the respite care here are for your carers. So they could be family members, they could be friends. Now, if you are facing or living with a terminal illness, you may need round the clock care or you might need quite substantive care. So, what support is available for your beautiful carers who are facilitating your life? Check those out in the voluntary sector, the charity sector. There will be organizations in your area that provides that type of care. Some of it may be free, some of it you might have to make a contribution towards, but this is what you're beginning to research. And then the fifth is really around your personal wishes and desires and your emotional consideration. And so the first aspect of this is, what type of funeral would you like? Are you somebody that's more traditional? And that's a route that you would like to take? Or are you somebody that is seeking an alternative form of burial, like a green funeral? What type? Give some consideration to this. What sort of rituals do you want to be included in your service, whether you take the traditional route or the less traditional route, or the non-traditional route, I should say, as opposed to the less traditional route? What music would you like to be played at your service? I'm thinking of, my playlist. Everything that I'm sharing here with you is something that I'm actively participating in my own life. Are there any poems or recitals that you would love to have at your end of life celebration? Give consideration to all of these different aspects, because together they're really going to indicate to your loved ones what exactly it is that you want. And the last thing to give consideration to, whether you are closer to the end of your life or you're a baby boomer who's just moving through life, are you living your bucket life dreams? Now is the time to find ways how you can begin to integrate your bucket list dreams. If you haven't got a bucket list dream list, start putting it together and find ways whereby you can start ticking them off. So my bucket list, I've got a load of things on my bucket list, and I'm actively living out attributes and aspects of my bucket list. Travel has always been part of my bucket list, and I've been doing this for decades, and I continue to do even more so of travel. But what is on your bucket list? Can you begin to find ways to integrate? And it could be, just incrementally. It could be a hobby that you've always wanted to pursue and you've been putting it off until you retire. Can you find a way to begin to integrate the desire, your dream life, as you move through your boomer years, as you're moving through your third act, and which comes to an end, metaphorically comes to an end when you're around 75, and beyond 75 you're moving into your fourth act of life. But now is the time to find the ways. What kind of resources do you need to put in place so that as you're planning your end of life strategy, and I've just shared some 5 very simple ideas to kickstart your thinking around it, how can you begin to tick off the bucket list while you may have, better health, while you may have more resources, while you may have time, or you're carving out the time? Now is the time to start putting this very essential end of life process, this end of life strategy. What do you want it to look like? So that